Hi, everybody. I'm Michelle Histand. I'm Director of Innovation at Independence Blue Cross and Executive Director of BPHL. And I'm here chatting with Ellen Yin, who is the founder of the High Street Hospitality Group and runs Fork and other restaurants that she'll talk about today. So Ellen, thanks for being with us. It's so exciting to talk to you.
Thanks, Michelle. Thank you.
So for people who don't know, tell us about High Street Hospitality Group and what you do.
Right. So High Street Hospitality Group is myself and Chef Eli Culp, and we operate Fork Restaurant, High Street on Market, a quick serve in Franklin's Table called High Street Provisions. We also operate High Street on Hudson in Manhattan and a kitchen and a bar in Rittenhouse Square at the AKA Rittenhouse Square.
You guys are pretty busy.
Yeah, we're really busy.
It's amazing. That's great. You're such a big presence in Old City, and we love that. So especially right now with all that's going on, you're really doing amazing work for the frontline workers here in Philadelphia. Tell us about that work.
So, that work came about because, first of all, life as a normal restaurateur came to a screeching halt in the middle of March, obviously. And, nobody was expecting this type of, economic reaction. And I certainly, if I ever was going to go out of business, didn't expect it to be going out of business because of a pandemic.
Yeah.
So, it was very heart-wrenching when, first all our private parties started canceling because conventions were canceling and people were cutting back on meetings and whatnot. That then the shelter in place and stay-at-home orders, pretty much put the writing on the wall that, restaurants were not going to be continuing in any way that we were accustomed to seeing them. And unfortunately, we had to lay off almost all the employees in all our restaurants, even Manhattan. The only thing that, is staying open is High Street on Market. And that's primarily because we're doing takeout and delivery. And we had a little bit of experience doing that through Fork, etc., which was the predecessor to High Street on Market. And during High Street on Market, we have done some caviar and some delivery. But we're learning every day. We have our own online portal and whatnot. Mm-hmm. But one of my former managers who her mother-in-law was a nursing administrator at HUP started a GoFundMe for frontline hospital workers. And this was almost in the first week after the pandemic had kind of shut everything down. And they raised a fair amount of money. And they said to me, would we be interested in feeding, frontline workers, because they're going to need support as, this all rolls out. So they already had been thinking about it. And I would, of course, absolutely, we want to do it. And they raised enough money that they were sending, a couple days a week, food from High Street to, a handful of maybe 20 people or so. But then I was speaking to somebody who said, I really want to make a difference and I want to contribute some funds. And, it's kind of a win-win for everybody because, the issue with working in the hospital is that people are so busy, and with restaurants not being open, there's no place to get food, and they're so busy they don't have time to even think about getting food. So it kind of turned out to be a win-win that restaurants could actually be creative and change their model a little bit. And we're doing, we agreed to do 5,500 meals for the past week to 2 weeks out.
Wow.
500 meals a day, 5 days a week.
Wow. That's pretty incredible. And that's
so we've been doing that.
And that campaign is called Fuel the Fight 2020. Can people contribute to that still?
Absolutely. So Fuel the Fight 2020 is part of the World Central Kitchen, which is Jose Andres' humanitarian relief organization. And he created an organization called Frontline Foods to help medical workers and restaurant workers and others who may be in need. And so they are 501c3, so you can make a donation through their GoFundMe, Fuel the Fight 2020. Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. Thanks.
They actually had an amazing event on Easter Sunday where they fed every hospital in the Philadelphia area. And this was all started by 4 volunteers.
That's incredible. I think one of the things that's been so nice to see in all of this, which, you know, there's not a lot of nice happening right now, but from people perspective, it's been so nice to see people stepping up and pulling things together like that really have grown and become this incredible force. It kind of reminds you of how neighborly we are in Philadelphia and the things that we try to do to help each other. It's really great.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've seen so many acts of generosity. I mean, one of our purveyors, Giordano, they came up with this grocery box for $35, and they're putting, you know, $65 worth of groceries for people who may not be able to get out. And people are sending these boxes to friends, elderly, and other people who need the food. And you know, that was, you know, at the very beginning, you know, the middle of March that they started that.
Yeah, actually, I live not too far from 9th Street, and my elderly neighbors got a box and were telling me about it. So that's been it's been great to see how restaurants are pivoting and what people are doing differently. Actually, I was going to sign off with this, but I will tell you that we had our delivery from High Street Market today, and I want to show everybody what I got. So before I sign off, I didn't eat it yet. I saved it because I wanted to show everyone what I got, because I want to encourage everyone to go online and order. It took me 2 minutes to order. Delivery came in less than 30 minutes. It was really easy and really fast, and it looks amazing. So I'll show you my food before we go. But you know, in addition to making all the meals for hospital workers, you've been really busy participating in just a fight to make sure that we're able to keep struggling restaurants alive in the city. So you've been working with others like Nicole Marquis from Hip City Veg. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. Well, I mean, for people who don't understand how the restaurant industry works, everyone knows that the restaurant industry is so competitive and so difficult, but really it's a cash business. And most restaurants fail because they don't have enough cash. And that's the number one reason why restaurants fail. Well, when your revenue stream is completely cut off and you have purveyor bills from, you know, say 15 to 30 days, you know, at some point it's going to come to a zero. And, you know, not only that, all our employees, you know, the restaurant industry employs almost 4% of the entire, you know, I think the statistic was 4 million people out of the unemployed are from small independent restaurants. Wow. And so the mom and pop shops, they're really the most vulnerable. And, you know, I consider myself lucky because you know, we have a variety of different types of restaurants in our group, but, you know, the pizza shop, the sandwich shop, I mean, all those type of businesses, everything is exacerbated. And also very large restaurants will experience the same thing because they're used to serving so many people. While they may have a bigger life cycle in terms of running out of cash, eventually they will run out of cash as well. So, you know, it's really important. Restaurants are the first business that people are going to go back to. So if we want the economy to rebound, we need to keep restaurants alive. The neighborhood restaurant has to be there because that's the first place that people are going to start to spend money again.
That's right.
So really, you know, organizations like the Pennsylvania Restaurant and Lodging Association. I'm part of a group called Independent Restaurant Coalition. These groups are lobbying together, or you know, combining forces together throughout the country to try to make sure that the voice of the small business, and it's not just small restaurants, it's any small retail business that is going to need support to make it through to the other side, because this is unprecedented. I mean, at this point, New York City may not open until the middle of June, maybe. I mean, I know that they had the shelter in place was extended to May 15th, and for Pennsylvania, May 8th. So that's a really, really long time to be able to survive. And, you know, the money has not been flowing that quickly.
Right. Yeah, so I think one of the things that I really appreciate about you, Ellen, is you're talking about the business side of it, and you're really well equipped to do that because you went to Wharton and you had a different career before this. Can you just talk a little bit about the pivot for your career? Because I think that's so interesting for people to hear, that multifaceted approach and the ability to make that change. Can you tell us about that? what you did before,
Sure.
and yeah.
Well, ironically, I was a healthcare um, administrator consultant, so to speak. I was actually helping physicians in Long Island create a health plan, and so ironic that we're talking today about that. But yeah, I was in the healthcare industry. I worked at Thomas Jefferson University Hospital most recently before I opened the restaurant, and I have my MBA in healthcare administration. And maybe one day, if this doesn't all work, I can go back to that. but seriously, I was one of those people who I loved restaurants from the time I worked in them when I was in high school, and that is the way so many people fall into the restaurant industry, is that they started when they were in high school, and they either fall in love with it because they love service, love cooking, whatever it is. And it was always something that I really wanted to do. And I had many points in my career where I couldn't decide whether I wanted to give up what I was doing, um, or try to open the restaurant. And I think I turned down enough opportunities, or tried enough opportunities, where I kind of validated, well, maybe this is something I want to try. Um, but I still always wanted to open the restaurant. And it's advice that I give to everybody, is that, to get to your end point, wherever your dream is, it doesn't mean that you have to be there right now, but it's a series of pivots that you go throughout your career, and doors open and it takes you down a new road. And I don't regret any of the things that I did in the past. I know for a fact that there would have been no way I could have opened a restaurant when I graduated from college, even though I wanted to. No way that I could probably have opened a restaurant when I got my MBA, even though I wanted to. And it's all those experiences that like lump together kind of make you who you become, and you change your mind. I mean, I read someplace where the average person goes through at least 4 career changes in their lifetime, or something like that.
Yeah. I think that's so true. I love that. I mean, first of all, I just think it's incredibly brave to make that kind of a change, right? But you're right. All of those experiences combine to bring the expertise that you need to be where you are today. So I think that's impressive. We hope you'll stay in the restaurant business. I think the good food is really amazing, and we really appreciate having you. So I love that. You talked about the need for cash and the need to keep neighborhood restaurants open. So I know one thing people are doing is getting takeout, right? We have been getting a lot of takeout. We get takeout probably every other day, because I love to eat and I don't love to cook. So it's working out for me, and it's working out for our neighborhood restaurants, of which there are still many doing takeout. Are there other things that folks can be doing right now to support the restaurant business?
Yeah, absolutely. And we do appreciate all the people who are ordering takeout. And, I know that, everybody needs a break from cooking all the time, but um, uh, ways that you can help restaurants. Number one is, if you do takeout and delivery, ordering direct is the best way to help a restaurant, because we don't have to pay fees to third party delivery services. They're providing a service, of course, but increasingly, I think that restaurants are developing their own ways of being able to get food to their guests, and for people to order online through their own platforms. The second thing is that so many restaurants are doing gift card promotions right now. So we actually started a gift card campaign. But we also collaborate with an organization called Save Philly Eats. And they basically came up with all these great, unique programs for restaurants, that are experiences that people can pay in advance for. For example, for us, we have a natural wine dinner for 6 people, where you can have a tasting of 6 different American wines, which are their American winemakers are doing amazing things right now in areas that you wouldn't even expect. I mean, New York, people recognize the Finger Lake region, but Long Island, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, even there are a lot of unique producers, Virginia, that people can learn about. We have a bagel making class that has been really popular. and other restaurants are doing, dinners at home, memberships to Polisi. I mean, you name it, you can find it on Save Philly Eats. So that's another way. If you don't want to, just always be eating, helping the frontline workers actually helps restaurants. So, I mean, we're able to employ 3 full-time people by doing the Fuel the Fight 2020 campaign. So, my ultimate goal is the way that I can keep Fork alive is by keeping my people engaged and keeping them in the workforce. And as you know, unemployment is difficult because it takes time to receive. And there are certainly many GoFundMe's and programs to support restaurant workers. We were part of something that U.S. Foods did at Craft Hall last weekend, where U.S. Food donated tons of food for restaurants, restaurant workers who also need some support.
That's great. I love that. So Save Philly Eats for the experiences. And there are a few campaigns for supporting restaurant workers that people can go out and find. I was a waitress for many, many years. I love waitressing. I am a great waitress. I would actually do that as a full-time job if I could, if I didn't have a bunch of kids to deal with. But restaurant workers work incredibly hard and are being hit. I think that the hardest, I read a stat that 60% of people facing unemployment come from the hospitality industry right now. So I think, that's a great way to help, right? So I love that.
For sure.
Pivoting from helping, which you're doing a tremendous amount of right now, just tell us your favorite thing about the Philly food scene. We have so much to offer, and we are working to keep it alive for good reason, right? It's a huge part of who we are as a city. So tell us some of your favorite things.
Well, it's incredible over the past 20 years how much the restaurant scene has grown and thrived and has made Philadelphia a destination for people all over the world to come and, celebrate what Philadelphia is all about. And a large part of that is the food scene. So I love that. I love that it's not just about high-end restaurants. I mean, you can have an amazing roast pork sandwich at John's Roast Pork. The diversity of restaurants that you can eat at, with the quality of people doing ethnic food, but also committing to using local, like Kalia, Royal. Sorry, can't think of it suddenly. The izakaya. Jesse Ito's sushi is incredible. I mean, these are things that are very straightforward and everybody can relate to, and they're done in an amazing high-end way that still, some people can, that everybody can access. Pizzeria Bedia is another example. I love that. But I also love what, River Twice is doing. That's in your neighborhood. And, that's a small, independently owned restaurant. They're doing amazing things with, trying to make local food on an elevated basis and make it still very casual and, not feel like it's stuffy or fancy.
Yeah, I love that. There are so many choices. It's endless. We were talking before we went live today, and I was sharing that I have a list of restaurants to try because I can't keep track of how many there are. There are so many things to try, everything from tiny neighborhood spots to fancier spots, and it's great.
And I mean, people are being so creative. I mean, like the bottle shops now that you can buy wine from and have it curated by somebody who really is knowledgeable about wine, like Tim Queter at Bloomsday, or little markets where you can get different types of local produce and meats, like Primal Supply. I mean, all these people who are being so innovative about about food and taking it further than the restaurant, I think, is what is making Philadelphia so unique.
It is. There's so much innovation in the food scene, and you mentioned some of them, and I get to walk past and see some of these places every day, and you'll see, the line down the street for barbacoa on 9th Street. And, I mean, just everywhere there's something really interesting or fun or unique to try, and I love that. I think the diversity in our restaurant scene echoes the diversity in our city, which is really important, right?
Yeah.
So it's been pretty cool. So, yeah, go ahead.
We were talking about, in the restaurant industry, there's so many vulnerable populations, and not everybody is going to qualify for unemployment for whatever reason, whether it be, you didn't work long enough, or maybe you're a babysitter and, you don't have anything on record or whatever. But one of our former team members, Ana Caballero, really is passionate about this cause, and she's making tamales. Um, and working with different people to try to raise money for people who are undocumented and may need additional support as well.
That's really incredible. So I hope viewers will support that. That's really incredible. Just
Yeah.
making sure that everybody gets the help they need. I think that, again, echoes kind of our community in Philadelphia, and that idea of helping your neighbors and going out of your way. And that's one of the, been one of the really nice things to see. So when we come back from all of this and you can sit down at a crowded table again, what would you want to prepare and who would you invite?
Well, I have to say that the people from Fuel the Fight are really, very selfless. I mean, the four people who started it, um, we didn't really talk about the University of Pennsylvania, but the University of Pennsylvania put out their security people to pick up the food and deliver it to Hub so that we wouldn't have to deliver it. I mean, it's really been a true collaboration, and I really want to thank those people by having them to dinner, because not only are they helping us, but they're helping people who really do need help, not just in the sense of eating, but like the people who need care. That they're getting as much medical attention as possible.
Yeah, that's incredible.
They would be probably one of my first people that I invite for dinner.
That's so lovely. I love that. The thank you messages around town have been really inspiring, and I know the mayor started the thank you campaign, so you can see signs around town thanking all of the essential workers, and I think it extends to the people who you don't see every day. You don't realize they're behind the scenes doing so much to make all of this happen. It's pretty incredible. Yeah. So what keeps you optimistic, both personally during this time and thinking about the restaurant scene? What keeps you optimistic that we'll be able to come back from all of this?
Well, today, Paul Levy from the Center City District sent me a letter that he wrote, and he was talking about all these previous recessions and crises, 9/11. And, when you feel like you're almost at rock bottom, it does force you to kind of hit the reset button. And so for me, I'm positive because I feel like, now that I've filled out all my applications and there's nothing I can really do about it, I do feel really hopeful, because I feel like the restaurant industry, while it is, one of the largest segments in our economy, is one of the most fragile industries in our economy, and it needs a relook, and trying to figure out how to make it better for its constituents, meaning our employees, and fixing the restaurant culture, which has been a discussion topic for the past 2 years, and really taking a fresh look at how we do business and how we can make it work so that it is more secure, and that we don't end up in this position again, I think is a really important component of recovering from this crisis.
And using this to learn from, right? So
yeah.
You mentioned restaurant culture, and I want to touch on something else that you've done that I think is really incredible. You've talked about mental health, particularly in the restaurant industry and with restaurant workers, but I think it's such a relevant topic for right now because many people are struggling, right? People struggle every day, but now being isolated or at home, it can be more challenging. Can you talk a little about your mental health work?
Yeah. So, over the years, I mean, I grew up in the 80s. So in the restaurant industry. So, what Kitchen Confidential revealed to people. I mean, there's definitely a bit of that. Maybe it wasn't so crazy where I worked as it was in, Anthony Bourdain's stories. But definitely there is a component because people have access to cash. They are in an environment where there's alcohol, and I mean, it is a stressful industry, and you don't get done late at night. You work different hours than other people. It definitely is an industry that is ripe for these type of issues, and that has been documented pretty well over the past several years. Sadly, a few days after we had laid everybody off, we lost one of our coworkers. And we don't know what the cause is, but that they did identify that it was from a drug overdose. And that made me think, this was somebody who worked for us for a little bit less than a year. Did I know that person as well as I should have known? But sometimes people who have problems, it's not on the surface. You know what I mean? I would have never guessed that he had had an addiction problem in the past. And maybe that was my naivety, but I didn't see that. And when I called his parents to express my condolences, this is a time where, like, it's very difficult to mourn somebody because nobody can be together. I mean, typically when somebody passes away, they're together. And it made me think, maybe there are other people who this is really affecting in a major way. I mean, many people in the restaurant industry are in their early 20s and 30s, and they have never experienced this type of situation. Not that any of us have, but I mean,
Sure.
I kind of think to myself, in my lifetime, I remember when the Afghanistan war was on TV, or that 9/11 was on TV. And, I mean, this is something that you can't even see. So it's really hard to relate to. And this type of unemployment is unprecedented since the Great Depression. So, a lot of young people have never experienced this, and I'm sure that there's a lot of anxiety about it, when it's going to end and how it's going to end and what they're going to do, whether they're going to have employment afterwards. And all those stresses, I think, really, especially when you don't have any income coming in, people need support. And so after this tragedy, I was talking to a friend, and she and I were thinking, well, maybe there's some way to help everybody in the industry during this difficult time, but nobody can be together. And, we're all part of all this Zoom culture now. And we're thinking, well, is there any way that that people could do a Zoom, almost like group therapy session? And she contacted a group called A Better Life, and they graciously donated their services for a series of 5 workshops that we're calling them mental health workshops. And, they're for anybody across the country. Anybody can join. You don't even have to be in the restaurant industry. But the one on Monday was about anxiety and depression, and she did a meditation series as part of that. One is about financial management. Another is about substance abuse. Another is about relationships in the restaurant industry. Sometimes, you see a lot of husband, wife, or boyfriend, girlfriend in the same restaurant. And what happens if both of you are laid off? And, how does that play out? So just, trying to deal with some everyday stresses. And we have a GoFundMe that we put together to fund private sessions for those people who might need, after these group sessions, if they need private sessions, that there will be some funds available for that.
That is so lovely. That is really wonderful, and what a great idea. And thank you. That's incredibly important. Anxiety and depression affects so much of the population already. And then when you add in such a big stressor, that really can exacerbate for people. And like you said, you don't always know. You can't always see on the surface. So I'm sorry for the loss of your colleague, and appreciate that you took steps to help others. That's really telling and really wonderful.
Well, we wanted to do something, and, hopefully when all this is over, we can properly pay our respects.
Well, you say you wanted to do something. Ellen Yin, you are doing a lot. You are doing a tremendous amount, from your work to feed hospital workers, to helping fight the fight with others in Philly and making sure our restaurant scene stays alive, to looking at mental health. You're just doing so much, and we're so grateful to have you here and have you be part of our community. I want to end on a quick unboxing and a plug, because we got the most delicious. I want to show folks this gorgeous turkey sandwich that I'm about to eat after this, that I ordered from High Street on Market. So like I said, you can order direct. So Ellen talked about ordering direct from the restaurant, which cuts out any other fees from a middleman. Please do that. Go to High Street on Market. You can order right online, or you can call them, and it's a quick 2-minute thing. I also got, because I am a glutton and I am eating a lot. You said if people don't want to eat, here's other ways to help. I want to eat. So I also got this beautiful lemon tart that is this perfect consistency, and I can't wait to eat it. And we had a rigatoni in the house with some pancetta. I don't eat bacon, but it smelled delicious. So please go check out High Street on Market, and the dinner options look really good. I'm going back for some braised short ribs, so I'm really excited about that. So please support if you can. And Ellen, any final words that you wanted to share before we sign off?
No, I really appreciate being here, and look forward to seeing everybody on the other side. And hopefully everybody stays healthy.
We can't wait to come out and have dinner with you. So thank you so much. And we'll hopefully see you soon in person.
Thanks, Michelle. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.